If your car's AC feels weak, there's a good chance the problem isn't deep inside the system. It's right in front of you. And it's so simple most drivers never think about it. The cabin air filter is basically the lungs of your AC system, pulling every breath of air into your vents. But here's the catch. In 9 out of 10 cars I check, that filter looks like it's been through a dust storm and a garbage disposal at the same time. I've seen them coated in dirt, pollen, mold, and even leaves packed so tightly you'd think they were part of the design. One driver rolled into my shop, complaining their AC hadn't worked in years. I pulled the filter from their Corolla, and it was black, soaked, and stuffed with debris. 5 minutes later, I popped in a brand new $10 filter from the parts store, cranked the fan, and instantly the air coming out was ice cold. No fancy tools, no hours in a shop, no $500 repair bill, just a simple swap. Most people don't even know their car has a cabin air filter. On many vehicles, it's hiding right behind the glove box or tucked under the dash. And here's the good news. Replacing it usually takes less than 5 minutes and doesn't require a single tool. If your AC smells musty or the airflow feels like it's struggling, check that filter. Sure, you can try cleaning it, but replacing it is the smarter move. For the price of a couple of coffees, you could bring your AC back to life. And here's the kicker. Even with a brand new filter, there's something else that can quietly choke your system from the inside. You might think once the cabin filter is clean, the air has a clear path into your car. But you'd be wrong. Over time, your vents become a catch-all for everything floating through your cabin, and I've seen some nasty surprises hiding in there. We're talking dust thick enough to write your name in, crumbs from last year's snacks, dog hair tangled like a carpet, and, in one case, a dead lizard. Here's the problem. That buildup doesn't just look bad. Even a thin layer of dust can block airflow, forcing your AC to work harder than it should. And when air struggles to pass through, the temperature drops slower, meaning you're stuck sweating longer than necessary. Worse yet, that mess traps odors, turning every drive into a musty, stale air experience. The fix is easy and costs nothing if you've got a vacuum at home. Grab a soft detailing brush, loosen the dust around each vent, and use a shop vac, or even a household vacuum, with a narrow attachment to suck it all out. For those tight corners, tape a straw to your vacuum hose and get right in there. Take your time. Clean vents can mean faster cool downs, fresher air, and less strain on the system. But here's the thing. Even if you vacuum them spotless, you're only scratching the surface. Deep inside those ducts, something much worse could be hiding. And it's the real reason some cars smell like a sweaty locker room the moment you turn on the AC. Vacuuming your vents is a great start, but it's like cleaning the surface of a dirty glass. The real problem is deep inside. Hidden in your AC ducts is the perfect breeding ground for mold, mildew, and bacteria. All that moisture from condensation, mixed with dust and organic gunk, turns your system into a petri dish. Ever turn on your AC and get hit with that wet gym sock smell? Yeah, that's it. Here's the fix. A C-vent foam cleaner. This stuff works like sending a scrub brush deep into the parts you can't reach. For around $10, you can pick up a can with a thin straw attachment. Insert the straw into each vent, spray until the foam starts filling the space, and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. The foam expands, breaking down grime, mold, and odor-causing bacteria. Then, switch your AC fan to high, with the cooling off, and let it blow everything out. The result? Air that smells fresh, flows faster, and feels cleaner. I've had customers swear their AC came back to life after doing this, not because the system was broken, but because all that hidden buildup was suffocating it. And now that the inside of your system is clean, it's time to make sure that air coming out is as cold as it can possibly be. Because if it's not, there's one quick DIY trick that can turn lukewarm air into an Arctic blast in just minutes. So, your vents are clean, your ducts are fresh, but the air still feels meh. Cool, but not cold. That's a classic sign your system is low on refrigerant. And before you panic about a $300 shop visit, here's the truth. You can top it up yourself in about 10 minutes for under $15. All you need is a DIY R134A recharge kit with a built-in pressure gauge. Trust me, the gauge is key. Pop the hood and find the low pressure port. It's the smaller one, usually with a black or blue cap. Start the engine, crank the AC to max, and attach the kit. The gauge will tell you where you stand. If it's in the low zone, slowly add refrigerant while keeping an eye on the needle. I've seen cars go from barely cool to Arctic blast before we even finish the conversation. But here's the catch. If your AC is blowing only hot air, stop. That usually means you've got a leak, and topping off will just waste your time and money. The good news? There's a way to find leaks so small they're invisible in daylight. And it's easier than you think. Refrigerant doesn't just disappear, it escapes. And if you're constantly recharging your AC, you're basically pouring money into a system with a hole in it. The problem is, most leaks are too tiny to spot with the naked eye. That's where UV dye comes in. For around $10, you can grab a can of R134A with UV dye already mixed in. Recharge your system like normal, run the AC for a few minutes, then shut everything off. Now, the fun part. Grab a cheap UV flashlight and either wait until it's dark or pull into a dim garage. Pop the hood and inspect every fitting, hose, and component tied to your AC. Anywhere refrigerant is leaking, that dye will glow bright green or yellow like a neon sign. I once found a hairline crack in an aluminum line that was completely invisible in daylight, but under UV, it lit up instantly. Once you've pinpointed the leak, you can either fix it yourself or hand the exact location to a mechanic, saving time, labor costs, and guesswork. Seal the leak, and you're not just fixing your cold air. You're making sure it stays cold. And speaking of staying cool, there's a free no-tools trick that can give your AC a massive head start before you even touch the dial. This one's so simple people laugh when I tell them, until they try it. Your AC isn't just cooling your car, it's fighting against the heat that's been baking inside it for hours. On a sunny day, the cabin temperature can skyrocket to 140 degrees Fahrenheit or more, and your AC has to work overtime just to bring it down to something bearable. That's why the first few minutes always feel like you're sitting in a sauna. The fix? Park smarter. Find shade whenever you can, under a tree, next to a building, even beside a tall truck. If there's no shade, use a cheap windshield sun shade. I've measured the difference, and it's not just a little cooler. We're talking 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit lower cabin temps before you even start the car. One guy told me he used to crank his AC and sit there sweating for 10 minutes before driving. I told him to start using a sunshade. A week later, he called back and said, "I'm not sweating anymore." That's how big of a difference it makes. And if you really want to supercharge your cooling speed, there's a little button on your dashboard most drivers ignore. But it can make your AC feel twice as powerful. Look down at your dashboard. See that little button with an arrow looping in a circle? That's your AC's secret weapon, recirculation mode. And most drivers either don't know what it does or never touch it. Here's the deal. When recirculation is off, your AC keeps pulling in hot, humid air from outside and trying to cool it down. You're basically asking it to chill the entire planet. But when you switch recirculation on, the system reuses the already cooled air inside your cabin. The result: colder air, faster cool downs, and less strain on your compressor. I had a customer come in, convinced his AC was broken. He'd blasted at full power, but it never got cold. The problem? He never hit recirculation. His AC was constantly sucking in 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside air. We flipped that little switch, and within 2 minutes, the air was icy. It's such a simple move, but it can save fuel, extend your AC's lifespan, and make summer drives actually enjoyable. But even with perfect air circulation, you could still be losing that precious cold air without even realizing it. You could have the coldest AC in the world, but if your car can't hold that cold air in, you're fighting a losing battle. The silent culprit. Worn or damaged weather stripping around your doors and windows. When those rubber seals crack, flatten, or pull loose, they let hot air seep in and cold air slip out. It's like running your AC with the windows cracked open. I've seen gaps so big you could slide a pencil through them. And the owners thought their AC was dying. Nope, just leaky seals. Here's the quick test. Open each door and run your fingers along the rubber edges. Feel for rough spots, cracks, or gaps. If you hear wind noise while driving, that's another red flag. The fix is easy. You can get replacement weather stripping or self-adhesive seal tape for around $10 at any parts store. Clean the surface, press it into place, and instantly you've got a tighter, more efficient cabin. Seal the car properly, and you'll be shocked at how much cooler it feels inside. But sometimes, the airflow problem isn't about leaks. It's about a hidden blockage you've probably never even looked at. Right at the base of your windshield, there's a long, vented panel, your car's front air intake. This is where your AC system pulls in outside air when you're not using recirculation mode. But here's the thing. Over time, it becomes a dumping ground for leaves, pine needles, dust, and in one case, I'll never forget, a full bird's nest. When that intake gets clogged, airflow drops dramatically. Your blower motor struggles, your evaporator doesn't get enough air, and suddenly your AC feels weak even though the rest of the system is fine. Checking it takes 5 minutes. Pop the hood, shine a flashlight through the grill, and look for any debris. Use your hands, a soft brush, or a vacuum to clear it out. Be gentle around the wiper arms and trim. No need to break anything in the process. If you've ever noticed your AC feels stronger when you're driving, but gets weak when you're idling, this could be the reason. And while you're already under the hood, it's a perfect time to check the part that actually drives your AC. Because if it's slipping, you can forget about getting cold air at all. Your AC compressor doesn't run on magic. It runs on a belt. And if that belt is loose, worn, or cracked, your compressor can't spin fast enough to build the pressure needed for cold air. The result? Weak cooling, no matter how much refrigerant you've got. Here's the quick check. With the engine off, press down on the belt. It should only move about ½ an inch. If it moves more, it needs tightening. While you're at it, look closely for cracks, shiny, glazed spots, or missing chunks. All signs it's time for a replacement. Most AC belts cost around $10 to $15, and replacing or tightening one is usually doable in under an hour with basic tools. Ignoring it can do more than just kill your AC. If that belt snaps, you could lose power steering or alternator function in an instant. Once your belt is in good shape, your compressor can finally do its job properly. And with that, it's time to look at the part of your system that's working the hardest to dump heat. Because if it's dirty, your AC is fighting a losing battle. Meet the AC condenser, the unsung hero sitting right in front of your radiator. Its job is to dump all the heat your AC system pulls out of your cabin. But here's the problem. Driving down the road turns it into a giant bug net. Dirt, leaves, road grime, and even tar can pack in between those delicate fins and choke off airflow. I've popped hoods and found condensers so filthy I could write my name in the dust. In one case, after cleaning it, the customer's AC went from lukewarm to ice cold in minutes. The fix is simple, but needs a gentle touch. Pop the hood, look through the grill, and you'll see the thin metal fins of the condenser. Use a garden hose, never a pressure washer, and spray from the engine side out, pushing debris back the way it came in. For stubborn dirt, a soft brush and some coil cleaner work wonders. Just be careful not to bend the fins, because damaged fins mean less airflow and less cooling. Once the condenser is clean, it can release heat faster, cool the refrigerant better, and take a huge load off your compressor. But while you've stopped the heat from building up there, sunlight can still turn your cabin into an oven, unless you block it before it gets in. Your windows might look harmless, but on a hot day, they're like magnifying glasses for heat. Infrared sunlight blasts straight through the glass, turning your cabin into a sauna even if your AC is in perfect shape. That's why some cars feel like ovens the moment you open the door. The fix? Heat-reflective window film. And no, you don't need a professional tint shop. I'm talking about peel and stick film you can install yourself for around $10. Apply it to the side windows that get the most sun, or go all in for full coverage. It works by reflecting infrared heat before it enters your car, keeping cabin temperatures lower, and giving your AC a much easier job. The best part? You don't have to make it permanent. Many of these films are removable, so you can slap them on for summer and peel them off when it cools down. By blocking that heat, you're not just staying cooler, you're helping your AC last longer. But even with perfect cabin temps, all that cold air is wasted if it's not hitting you directly. And that's where a tiny, often ignored piece of plastic comes in. Every time you turn on your AC, you expect that cold air to hit you right where you want it. But if your vent louvers, those small adjustable fins inside the vents, are broken, stuck, or missing, you're wasting good cold air in all the wrong directions. Instead of cooling you, it's blasting the floor, the dash, or even straight into the passenger seat. It might not seem like a big deal, but poor airflow direction forces your AC to run longer, work harder, and still leave you uncomfortable. I've seen plenty of drivers put up with it for years, thinking it's just how the car is. It's not. The fix can be cheap and easy. Replacement louvers are often available online for a few bucks, or you can grab spares from a junkyard. In a pinch, I've repaired them with a paper clip and a dab of epoxy. The key is making sure you can aim the air exactly where you need it. That way, every bit of cold counts. With the airflow aimed perfectly, your AC is more effective than ever. But if it still feels weak, the problem might be hidden deep inside the dash, right at the heart of your cooling system. Buried deep inside your dash is the evaporator core, the cold heart of your AC system. This is where warm air passes over chilled coils, dropping the temperature before it hits your vents. But over time, the evaporator collects dust, mold, and moisture, slowly choking off airflow and stealing that icy edge from your AC. I've had cars come in where the compressor worked perfectly, refrigerant levels were spot on, and belts were fine. Yet the AC barely cooled. The culprit? A filthy evaporator. When it's clogged, your system can't push enough cold air through, no matter how hard it tries. If your car has an access point, often through the evaporator drain or behind the cabin filter, you can flush it yourself with coil cleaner or a dedicated AC disinfectant spray. Foam it up, let it soak, and then run the fan to blow the grime out. Be ready for some nasty stuff to come out the other end. Not every car makes this job easy, and in some cases, it's better left to a pro. But if you can get to it, the payoff is huge. Cleaner air, stronger flow, and colder temps almost instantly. And once the core is spotless, you can add one last trick that helps your AC before you even start the engine. If your car spends hours sitting in the sun, the heat inside can feel unbearable before you even start the engine. That's where a solar-powered vent fan comes in. It's a small, inexpensive gadget, usually under $10, that mounts to your window and uses sunlight to power a tiny fan. As soon as the sun hits it, the fan starts pulling hot air out of your cabin. It's not going to make your car ice cold, but it will drop the interior temperature by 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit before you even open the door. That's a huge head start for your AC, which means it cools the cabin faster and works less to keep it that way. There's no wiring, no installation headaches. Just mount it, roll up the window to hold it in place, and let the sun do the work. I've used these on delivery cars, work trucks, even my wife's old minivan. They kept the seats cooler, the steering wheel touchable, and took that painful edge off the summer heat. And with that, you've got a complete set of low-cost, high-impact tricks to keep your AC blowing ice cold, without spending hundreds at the shop. Now, the only thing left is to make sure the tiny sensor that controls your AC doesn't fail at the worst possible time. But that's a story for the next video.